Hi guys, welcome to Simply Scuba. So in our new advice section, we're going to be comparing and contrasting two very similar items. And in our first video, we're taking a closer look at the Suunto D5, which was only just released, and the Shearwater Terrex. So these are both very similar color screen, watch size dive computers. At first, I have to say that this video is in no way sponsored by either of them. They have no idea that we're doing this. It's very just myself comparing and contrasting, and basically trying to make your life a little bit easier. So if you're trying to make your mind up between the two, you're a little bit more informed. So first of all, let's compare the hardware and see what's the same, what I like, what I don't like, and which is best. Okay, so to start off with, we're looking at the looks and the feel of it. So as far as size of the screen, very, very similar. Now, both of these computers are on their highest brightness setting, I should say. And one is quite a clear winner in my mind. The Terrex has such a high contrast, it's really bright and obvious. The D5, yeah, you can read it, but it's in no way as bright. Now, this might affect, well, it will affect the battery life, but still, it is really, really easy to read this Terrex. On the outside, so Terrex only comes in a kind of matte black, and this is sort of metal bezel and then a polymer sort of underside. Exactly the same with the Suunto, except this does come in a brushed steel version, which is a little bit cheaper. You've got a metal bezel on the top and then sort of plastic underside. The straps themselves, they both have a nice feel to them. They're both this kind of silicone material. They are both removable and you can get different colors. I do give a slight edge to the D5 on this one because the Shearwater, the replacement straps, the colorful straps, I'm not really feeling them. They're okay if you want to splash a color on your wrist, but realistically, I'm just going to stick with the standard black. Whereas with the D5, very nice colors, good range of sort of color straps, and a range of different types of straps. You can get leather straps, you can get sort of nylon NATO style straps, very, very sort of customizable. So in the kind of standard configuration, this is exactly what you get. You don't get extension straps for dry suit divers. It's a little tough, you have to get an extension strap. The Suunto has a quick release feature in this little sort of spring lug, so you can very quickly sort of swap these straps over. There are pros and cons to that. There's a pro because, yeah, it's very easy to kind of swap those over. You don't need any tools, but it's very quick to remove. When it's actually on your wrist, those do get covered up, so they're unlikely to sort of undo sort of by themselves. But some people I've noticed on sort of comment section have already said, I'm not a huge fan of that because it's so quick and easy, I might lose my dive computer. Don't know, I can't comment on that, but yeah, it's a pro and a con. On the Terrex, you need a small Allen key, a little hex key to undo two bolts, so very, very secure, but you need some tools to swap over those straps. Turning it over, so then we're going back to user interface. Suunto D5, so this has a 3-button user interface, which is pretty intuitive. The central button kind of cycles through everything, all the different screens. And then when you go into the menu structure, you can cycle up and down and then hold it down to go backwards. So quite intuitive. The Shearwater Terrex 4-button user interface, but I'd argue sort of just as intuitive. Basically, whenever you go into that menu structure, it tells you what each of the buttons do. So it's very easy to kind of cycle through and go, oh, okay, I want to go into your settings, and then you want to sort of move around. And then if you want to go back, you just press the home button. Yeah, I'll give slight edge to the Terrex. I prefer a 4-button user interface. I just find it a little bit easier. With the Suunto D5, when I very first got my hands on it, It's easy to navigate, but sometimes you press a wrong button, you go backwards, and it can be a little bit complicated. As far as peripherals, the D5 comes with a USB charging cable, and this is magnetic. I'm a sucker for magnetic cables, and that's how you sort of charge it. You can download dives kind of through that. That's very quick and easy. It's kind of self-guiding. It's nice and compact, so it's quite easy to store that. With the Shearwater, you get a charging cradle and a USB cable. So when you're recharging it, it sits in its little dock, and then you kind of plug that into a USB port. So it's quite nice. I don't know if it'll do it when it's not actually plugged in, but the screen actually rotates, so it acts as a bit of a sort of bedside table night light sort of lamp, so you can still read it. But for traveling, a bit bulkier, it's a little bit something extra that you have to sort of carry around. It might be, it's not a big downer, but yeah, it's a lot of extra tech that you have to bring with you in your kit bag. So that's pretty much it as far as the sort of the physical aspects, the hardware of it goes. Let's take a look at the software. Okay, so now we're looking at the inside of the dive computer, at the software. So first of all, two different diving algorithms on this. The Suunto uses their RGBM Fused 2, which is a new sort of upgraded version of their Fused RGBM algorithm, whereas the Terek has a Buhlmann ZHL16C with gradient factors, so you can control and tailor your decompression algorithm. Other than that, so 3-button user interface versus a 4-button user interface. They both have Bluetooth on the inside, so you can sort of connect it to your smartphone or your tablet. The apps themselves are pretty similar. They both act quite simply as logbooks. You can save peripheral information, but at the moment that's about it. On some other apps with different dive computers, some of them you can change settings on your phone and then it updates your dive computer. Neither of these have these yet. It might be an upgrade that the developers come up with at a later day, but as of filming, they don't have that feature. Navigating, so I'm just going to start off with the Suunto. So we have a 3-button user interface. The central button just sort of navigates around, which is quite simple. Lower button changes peripheral information, but then when you hold it down and go into the settings, it kind of goes up and down, and it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to figure out once you understand sort of where things go. So they've separated gases out of dive settings, but yeah, it's still pretty simple to navigate. And kind of figure out where you're going and then how to go back. So that is pretty simple to navigate. With the Terek 4-button user interface, you've got the menu button down under that side, and then it tells you on the screen what each of the buttons do, and of course that changes depending on sort of what menu structure you're in. But one of the biggest sort of benefits of the Terek is that you can change the color scheme of everything. So with the Suunto is all color coded. So when everything's white and blues and greens, everything's fine. But then when things start getting close to limits, they start to turn yellows and ambers. When you're at your limits, it turns to the reds. But with the Terek, you can actually go into the actual sort of display settings and really customize exactly what color scheme and kind of where you want sort of what color scheme you want this sort of information to be. Yeah, so that way, if maybe you're red-green colorblind, then yeah, having things going from green to red might not be useful, so you can eliminate all the reds and turn it into more sort of blues and kind of colors that you can sort of naturally differentiate. Yeah, it's very simple to use, as is the Suunto. Once you sort of get used to how the different menu structures work, both quite simple. One benefit of the D5 is that you can connect it to your desktop PC, and then you can move certain bits of information around. So a little bit like the Eons, you can have your own like dive screens, and by pressing that central button, you can sort of go to a certain personalized screen, so where you see your no decompression limit and your current air time remaining or something, you can sort of customize it. With the Terek, similar things, like here we've got the sort of time and date screen, but by pressing the lower button, you can kind of cycle through and have different screens depending on how you want your watch to look. If I just quickly take you to dive mode, once that sort of wakes up, again, it's just as rigid as the D5 in where most of the information is kind of located, but then you can sort of customize and change things depending on kind of where they sit. So I've just gone to the compass, which is a really great point. They both have compasses, quite easy to get used to and quite easy to sort of understand. But as you can see, much sort of brighter screen at full brightness on the Terek compared to the Suunto. The Suunto keeps going into this sort of low power mode, but even when it is kind of fully activated in its sort of brightest setting, it's nowhere near as bright as the Terek. Okay, so now we're going to delve into the specs of each of them and just sort of compare and contrast. Now, these specifications, these were taken from the manufacturer's sort of websites, so we're presuming that they're slightly sort of elaborating, they're making it a little bit sort of better. It'll probably be with like the lowest brightness and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so first of all, we've got the different modes that you can get on the computers. So they both do air, they both do nitrox, and they both do free diving, you're kind of snorkeling. But the one place where it differences is that the Terek does trimix as well. So the D5 doesn't do helium. It might come in a sort of optional sort of upgrade that you can download later. But right now, as time of filming, it doesn't do trimix. They both connect to wireless air transmitters. Neither come with them sort of as standard, but they do pair with them. And from what I understand, they're both permanent pairing, so you don't have to sort of re-pair it quite so often. You basically type in the serial number of the tank pod or the wireless air transmitter, and they're always talking to one another. So they both have vibration features on the inside, which is quite handy. Instead of incessant beeping, they just kind of vibrate on your wrist to get your attention, but they're not going to bug and annoy everyone else around you. Battery life. So battery life on the Terek on the website is 30 plus hours, and that's in dive mode. In just normal watch mode, it's 50 hours, so that's a couple days. So that's plenty, especially when you compare it to the D5, which they state 6 to 12 hours of dive time instead of 30, so it's about half, even less than half. And I presume that 12 is on its lowest brightness, but 6 is on its highest brightness. Depth rating, Shearwater Terek goes all the way down to 200 meters, whereas the D5 is only down to 100. But that kind of makes sense because the D5 is more of a recreational computer, whereas Terek sort of more leans towards the technical divers. Logbook, again, the Terek can boast a 500-hour logbook, whereas the D5 is only 200 hours. And then the display, as you've seen the display on the Shearwater, so this is an AMOLED display, and it's 400 by 400, and as you can tell, very, very bright and clear. The color screen on the D5 is a MIP, memory in pixel display, which is 320 by 300. And then the real big difference is the price. Now I'm just going to go over the RRP because prices can fluctuate. At time of filming, the RRP on the D5 is about 600 British pounds, but on the Shearwater Terek it's about 1,000 British pounds. So it is a lot cheaper, the D5, but you're getting a lot more features in that Shearwater Terek. Okay guys, so to summarize, we're going to bring everything together just to decide kind of which one is better in my own view. So as far as the specs, the Terek very much kind of wins. It's always that little bit higher. It's got sort of greater memory. It's got a greater sort of battery life. You can clearly see that the screen is that much brighter and easier to read, even on their sort of highest brightness settings. Cosmetically, it's going a little bit more towards the D5. It's a tiny bit thinner, so it's not quite so proud on your wrist, but you do get full customizations of those straps, which I really do like. The D5 particularly looks really smart with its leather strap, very, very smart. You can sort of customize it to your own sort of personal dive computer, whereas the Terek is a little bit more rigid, a bit more behind the times with that. But very much, I'm gonna give the edge to the Terek. It's very much future-proofing yourself. It's giving you more sort of greater features. Okay, it is quite a bit more expensive, but future-proofing, you're getting all those extra features, you're getting a higher spec machine, and if you go on sort of modern day dive forums online, just type in the word Shearwater and it's nothing but praise. So yeah, in this comparison video, I'm gonna give the edge to the Shearwater Terek. Okay guys, but let us know what your favorite dive computer is and why, which one you'd pick, sort of comparing these two computers. We'll try and put a poll up in sort of YouTube as well so that we can sort of find out which is your favorite. But of course, let us know what your dive computer is and why in the comments below. Tell us why you like that dive computer, what particular feature you're looking for in a dive computer. And if you want us to compare to other things, to masks, to fins, to BCDs, regulators, whatever, let us know what you want us to compare next, and we might make that our next video. Thanks for watching, guys, and safe diving.
Online dive store serving the UK and the world for all your diving equipment needs. So why not visit us at simplyscuba.com or click the box on your screen.